Hey, the program you're watching tonight is, of course, I Love My Job. I'm Doug Thager. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us tonight. I'm talking to Jenni Paramore with Directions Credit Union. Jenni, very good to see you. By the way, Jenni has been a guest with us before in the past, some time ago. You are the outreach coordinator, educator, consultant? You're a lot of things.
Yeah, I do a lot of things. My title is Community Outreach Education Coordinator, and my actual job is to reach out to the community and share important financial tools. As the credit union, we believe that a stronger, smarter financial community is a better community for everyone.
And boy, how true that is.
Yes, absolutely.
And if anything, it's getting more complicated, isn't it?
Oh, every day. Yes, it is. You know, laws and rules change all the time. There's much concern, as there should be, for consumers and how consumers are affected by finance, and just the basics of budgeting can be really impacted by how people choose to spend their money and you know, work towards financial goals.
Well, Jenni, I'm one of those people, of course, that would be a senior. So consequently, I pick up these articles time and again about retirement and how much money you should have before you retire, what you should be doing in the meantime to prepare for retirement, and things like don't live on Social Security because you're not going to make it, et cetera, et cetera. Then I read things like, gee, the percentage of people who have actually put aside dollars in their savings for retirement is extremely low.
It is very low. Actually, in America right now, we're saving less money than we have in many generations. You can base that on a lot of guesses that, you know, the cost of living changes, the way that we think about money. We don't really think about money in a strategic way. We tend to think of money in an emotional way. And as Americans, because we're not very good at putting aside our wants until later, it's really created problems for people when you talk about preparing for the future, because preparing for your future is the single most important thing you can do. There are certainly people who live on Social Security, but you will never live on Social Security in a manner in which you have been accustomed when you were working. So it's why so many seniors take on part-time jobs after retirement to kind of accommodate that balance of income.
Does it seem like there are more retirees that are working part-time?
Oh yes, I think so. And I think there are many reasons for that. I do believe that one of them is income, of course. I also believe that when you're talking about baby boomers, especially who many are retiring right now, I think that we were just kind of trained to work, and I think some of us have a hard time not working.
Absolutely.
So sometimes that part-time job just fills a need to, you know, be out and about and socializing with people in a way that we don't always get to do when we're retired.
Yeah, I'm reading more and more too about more people are working later in life. And I must confess, I was 71 years old when I eventually said, gee, I'm going to give all this up and retire from either a part-time or a full-time position. So, and apparently that is becoming more common as opposed to uncommon.
Oh, more and more common, absolutely. I just celebrated my 65th birthday in June, and my plan is not to retire until I'm 70.
Yeah, well, good for you.
So,
okay, now we're going to cover a lot of bases this afternoon, this evening. You work with all age groups. You work with children?
Yes, we work with, we have programs for everyone from kindergarten all the way through senior citizens.
Okay. So now, in the case of children, whether it be kindergarten or in that age range, what are you teaching them?
Well, that can vary based on the age group of kids, but if we pick kind of an average, say 3rd and 4th graders, we have several programs that we have books that we use that teach kids about money. One of my personal favorites is a book called The Pickle Patch Bathtub, which is a true story from 1925 that talks about a woman who wants a real bathtub at her farmhouse, and she and her siblings grow cucumbers to sell to a pickling factory so that they can get enough money. The lessons that this book teaches kids is, first of all, about having a plan and saving money, which is the most important part, but it also teaches them a little bit about how the economy has changed over the many years. They buy the bathtub for $9.25 from the Sears catalog. we're probably not going to be able to find that good a deal on a bathtub nowadays.
Yeah.
So it also gives kids an idea of how the economy changes. And we actually call the program Economics for Youth. We do a series then. The next series is we give them, we divide the kids into teams and give them a business. It might be a hot dog, or excuse me, a hot chocolate stand or jewelry making. And the kids work together as a team. They have a budget. They have to create a product, sell it, decide how they're going to advertise it. So they're all little ways of teaching kids the importance of how we use our money and the importance of having a plan. So
we're talking to Jenni Paramore, and she's with Directions Credit Union, and she is a educator, community outreach, and we're going to continue to discuss with her economic issues facing you and I right now. Hey, welcome back to I Love My Job. Once again, we're talking to Jenni Paramore, and she's with Directions Credit Union. Now, I cut you off. Did we get the bathtub?
Yes, they got the bathtub, and finally they were one dime short, but her younger brother had saved his Christmas dime and contributed it so they could get that bathtub.
Wow. What a great story.
Yeah, it's a great story.
And
really
you say that
is.
goes back to 1925?
1925,
Whoa, okay.
yes. So a wonderful opportunity to teach kids about our culture and how it's changed.
Now, if I take you to the extreme opposite of kindergartners or first graders or what have you, you also tell me that you're working with people from Ricky.
Yes, we do have a program called Money Management that is actually 7 weeks long. 6 weeks of that is financial tools. We teach about budgeting, about checking, about savings, borrowing. We do talk a lot about credit score, credit report, which is very important that people be aware of those things. We do a little program about bankruptcy, which is neither a yes you should or no you shouldn't program, it's just informational. And then we end the program on the 7th week with a life-size game called Finances 101 that we use in a lot of different places. There are actually 12 stations, and each of the attendees gets a job and a family, and they have to put money in savings. They have to find out how much daycare costs. There's a table where they determine whether or not they get employer-paid benefits or they're paying for their own health insurance. They purchase a home, a car, buy groceries. There's a wheel that they spin that you may have to buy a new cell phone because you ran over yours with a car. It has all kinds of different options on it, and all the way to they all start the day with credit card debt, and as they get towards the end of the program, they have to pay on their credit card. The important lesson there is that we really want them to understand the importance of paying more than the minimum payment to get credit paid down. And then the last station is entertainment. Sometimes people get to the entertainment station and are doing free things like going to the park and going to the library because they've run out of money by then. But it's a wonderful opportunity for people to actually see the cost of things, and the payroll that we use for the jobs, as well as the housing costs and those things, are all based on Ohio averages. So if you get a job as a plumber, then that pay is actually going to be the average pay of a plumber in the state of Ohio.
So whether you're talking to youngsters or whether you're talking to adults or retirees, you're talking about the practical things of economic life.
Yes, absolutely. We think it's really important that people understand that we can't do your budget for you. I can't sit down with you and say, oh, you've got to go on this budget, because that's crazy. Everybody's needs are different, and people need to see the different options they have for making the best choices for them. We like to say it's not how much you make, it's how much you spend. And that's a really important part of getting people focused on that, getting them in a position that they can pay off credit card debt if that's what's keeping them tied down. If they have medical bills that are going unpaid, you know, you need to work out a solution with that. And I think one of the most important things we tell people is you should never avoid talking to your creditors. If you have credit difficulty, the best thing you can do is talk to your creditors about it and explain your situation to them and make an arrangement to solve that problem in the best manner for you, you know, that also accommodates whomever you've borrowed money from.
Now, in your profession, are you open to lecturing or talking or teaching?
You know, that's basically what I do. We recently have added a few unusual programs. We recently did a program at the library called Customer Service for Small Businesses. So we did a 4-week program about how the importance of business owners and managers, that how they treat their staff will equal how their staff treats their customers, and how important that is. And the importance of training your staff properly to how to deal with, you know, we like staff to, even when a customer is wrong, that's okay. We still have to treat them with respect, you know, how important that is. The importance of being able to say you're sorry, even if it's not your fault.
So, hard to do. Yes.
And then this week I will be doing a program with the small business group at the Kehoe Center on how your personal credit can impact your business. So, you know, we really are trying to, I have a relatively new program on work ethic, the importance of work ethic.
Let me come back and pick up on that. I need to take a quick break. Jenni Paramore is with us. She's with Directions Credit Union, an educator, and we're going to continue to discuss important issues for you and me. Again, tonight we're talking to Jenni Paramore, and she's with Directions Credit Union. You were talking about some new programming that you're doing at the Kehoe Center.
Yes, that was with the Small Business Administration, and we are doing how your personal credit can affect your business, which is really important. A lot of people think that they can make a mess of their personal credit and that their business will be okay, and that really isn't the truth. You have to find a good balance and keep your personal credit in order. It's probably one of the most important things we do in our current economy and the way that Americans shop, the importance of making sure that your credit report is good and as it should be. And of course, everyone in America is entitled to 3 free copies of their credit report every year at annualcreditreport.com. It's the only place you can get free copies of your credit report, actually. But we also then, one of the newest programs that we're doing is a program on work ethic, and we call it the 10 Commandments of Work Plus 6, because there are more than 10 commandments of being a good employee. And it goes over some really important things: the importance of being on time, the importance of dressing appropriately for your job. We've done this program even with people who are going to be going out and doing interviews, the importance of researching the company that you're going to be interviewing with, and going to the interview dressed appropriate to that business. You don't want to, if you're going to be in the public eye, for example, if you're going to go to work for a financial institution, you certainly don't want to show up in jeans and a t-shirt for your interview, because you wouldn't be allowed to dress that way at your job anyhow. So the importance of that, the importance of how you interact socially with the people that you work with is very, very important, as well as things like learning to turn your cell phone off when you come to work. You know, it is not appropriate and should be put aside for the day. The importance of finding a mentor, how important that is to help you grow in your job. We talk about human capital, and of course human capital are all the things you learn as part of being employed, the things that make you valuable as an employee. And we all want to increase our human capital. We want that to grow and
absolutely.
grow. So all of those things are really important when we're talking about work ethic. And I happen to believe that you're never too old to learn and understand a work ethic. So it's been very valuable for us in working with different groups.
This is going to be sticky, but let me ask you, how do you face the issue of face piercing or tattoos?
Well, you know, that kind of is certainly a matter of the employer, and employers do make rules about those things. At the credit union, we have a no facial piercing and no visible tattoos rule. So if you do have a tattoo, it has to be someplace that it can be covered. We, especially in the financial industry, just in general, we work with so many different kinds of people, from very young children who are getting their first savings account, all the way to senior citizens who have had their accounts in their financial institution for a long time. And you have to find that balance that is not offensive to anyone. So that's why rules like that are made. And I'm sure there are employers out there who are more lenient about those rules.
Yes, of course.
So it's, you just have to be prepared for whatever that employer. And again, going for an interview, you should probably go without those things until you know the rule.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
well, let me switch gears with you. There's always the artist out there. I'm not sure artist is the correct word, but there are those people out there that come up with a new scheme every day to scam you out of your money. Now, normally they pick on old people like me, but they cover all of them, all age groups, right?
Everyone, absolutely. Identity theft, no one is really safe from identity theft. We have discovered in doing classes at Ricky that it is not uncommon to discover that an offender who's been incarcerated for a long period of time has had their identity stolen. So, who would think that he's going to be monitoring his credit score and credit report? So we have to be really, really conscientious of that. It's probably the most important reason that we should monitor our credit reports, because that's where it's going to show up pretty quickly. If our identity has been stolen, and if someone's gotten a hold of our social security number, bank account information, that sort of thing, credit card number even. So we have to really be sure that people understand the importance of being safe. And being safe means, first of all, we never give information over the telephone to someone who has called us, and we never share information by email from someone who has emailed us. No reputable financial institution, government is ever going to call you and ask you for that information. They already have that information. They don't need to call you and ask you for it.
Let me continue that, okay? We're coming right back with Jenni Paramore. She's with Directions Credit Union, and she really is an educator, and that's what we're doing tonight for you. We'll be right back with I Love My Job. Again, Jenni Paramore is with us, and she is an educator, outreach community educator with Directions Credit Union, and we're talking about scams, and there seems to be a ton of those babies out there.
Lots and lots of them. There are many that involve you withdrawing money or giving money to someone. And again, no one reputable would ever actually ask you to do that. One of the most common ones we see, and this one comes and goes. We'll see it for a while, it goes away for 6 months, it comes back, and that is that when you receive a check in the mail that you've won some kind of lottery. The first thing you need to think about is, when did you buy tickets for that lottery? Were you in France or Canada doing that? That's the first thing. but they will send a check, and the check is usually for $4,000 or $5,000.
Whoa.
And then you're asked to deposit the check and send them back $2,500 to cover the cost of processing your winnings.
Okay.
Well, nobody's going to do that. If you've won, you've won.
Yeah.
Think about the Ohio State Lottery and the lucky winners of that. They don't ask you to pay them to
Yes.
give you their money. So it's really important. If this should happen to you, if you get this check, please take it to your financial institution. They'll make copies of it. They'll send it out to the other financial institutions in town and say, oh, the scam is happening again. Sometimes people insist that it's real, and in that case, their financial institution will put the check on a long-term hold for them. Nowadays, a check can clear in as quickly as 2 or 3 days. If it hasn't cleared in 30 days, we're pretty sure it's a scam.
Yeah.
So it's really important. For people who still live in their homes, they have to be really conscientious about letting people come into their homes that they don't know. It's not uncommon for people to knock on a door and say they're home inspectors and they're there to do a home inspection. You don't want to let people into your home, especially if you're alone. If it's legitimate, you can ask them to come back. I have an older friend that always tells people when she gets phone calls or when someone shows up at her home that she doesn't know, she always says, I'm going to have to call my son who's in the FBI so he can come sit on the... Her son's not really in the FBI.
Yeah.
That's just what she tells people to help
That's good.
protect
That's
herself. So we have to think of ways to protect ourselves. And we have to not trust. You know, that's kind of a sad thing about our modern society, is that we do have to understand that not everyone is trustworthy.
Yeah.
So.
And as you were talking off camera, it's so true that the older generation did everything with a handshake, but that's outmoded.
That's outmoded now, yes. Yes, we always need to be sure that people are bonded and insured to do the job that we're asking them to do. We don't want to pay people ahead of time for a job that may never get completed. We want to never, ever give people money because they tell us that, for example, a teller at your financial institution we think is stealing money, so we want you to go in and withdraw $10,000 from your account and give it to us, and then we'll go in and do a transaction with that teller. No, that would never, ever, ever happen. Never happen. So
terrible.
Terrible. It is terrible.
Yes.
I always think that people who are smart enough to come up with all those scams ought to be smart enough to get a regular job.
And make tons of money. You would think so.
Yeah, make good money because they're smart.
But that's not the case.
And
so we have to be cautious, and we have to be very, very careful.
Yes, we have to always take steps to protect ourselves. We have to accept that responsibility to be our number one defense is to deter scams, to detect them, and defend ourselves against them.
Now, you're telling us it's extremely important as a customer of Directions Credit Union or any financial institution that monthly I get a statement.
Yes.
And I should peruse that statement very closely.
Oh, absolutely. You should always look at your bank statement, any credit card statements that you receive. You should always look at them very, very closely and make sure there's nothing on them that shouldn't be. It's a great way for you to pay very close attention. An example would be just if you went to Macy's, for example, and used your Macy's card and bought a shirt.
Yeah.
And then you get your bill and there are 2 shirts on the bill. Well, that's not right. Why would that be? So you need to, be sure that you're paying attention. It's the best way to protect ourselves is just by paying attention.
Well, I would think particularly with, I shouldn't say this, but with a credit card, because you're going down through that list of items that you have transacted in the last 30 days. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and being absolutely certain. Nowadays, there are all kinds of ways that there are companies that will email you receipts. So you can keep them in a file on your computer if you want to. I mean, there are all kinds of modern ways to keep track of those things. So we can always make the comparison.
Jenni Paramore was with us, and we really appreciate it. Jenni, thank you very much for being on I Love My Job. You're just the storehouse full of knowledge, and we appreciate it. We're coming back next week with another great program, one of information, and that's exactly why we have people like Jenni Paramore with us from Directions Credit Union. See you next week right here on I Love My Job. Thank you for being with us, and we'll see you then, and good night.